Okay, and we are live. Welcome everyone to this live stream. I feel like this week it's a non-ending live stream pre-holiday here, but I'm very excited because this live stream is very special. We'll speak about everything kind of like MetaMask Advanced Permissions. And I think we're doing this because we launched, okay, we can give some color a little bit later, but we launched like the MetaMask Dev Cook-Off with Envio on advanced permissions. So there is a lot of different things. And this hackathon is a month long. And then we said, okay, how we can actually like kind of like put some live stream of learnings during this 1 month long hackathon. And there we are. We are in our second kind of live stream of the month. We did a first one with Envio where we actually kicked off the entire hackathon. And yeah, super excited. We have here Ayush, our expert, everything like smart account and MetaMask Advanced Permission. Ayush, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. So, hi everyone. Ayush here. Happy to be here again. I basically lead the develop for MetaMask Smart accounts. So, if you want to know anything about like smart accounts, about the advanced permissions, feel free to reach out to me on X or on Telegram.
Nice, exciting. I think like, we'll speak about intents and delegation for a long time. And he's very excited that we have this live stream slash kind of like live coding session. Okay, so without further ado, then I think we have 40 shy minutes. What we will talk about, right? We do quick intros. Why we need ERC 7715 in the first place. I think for the people that went into DevConnect, hi everyone that went to DevConnect. We had a really cool also like sit down session on the 7715 that you led with Ryan. Yeah, we'll speak a little bit about why we need this ERC in the first place. And then we will move a little bit and we're actually speaking about why and how 7715 will play out with MetaMask specific. And then we're getting started with some quick live coding with Ayush. Hopefully like the demo gods will be with us. Hopefully pre-holiday season, they will be with us. Okay, I think like let's get started. I will move forward. We have a quick I think it was game recording showing like why we
Yeah,
need 7715 in the first place.
yeah. So I think like whenever when we started like with the Web3, like there were like a lot of like wallets coming out. MetaMask was one of the first wallet, and when we like started going towards that phase of like DeFi and games, right? We came up with an issue that user needs to like confirm the like every step they are doing in the game. And if we go to the next slide, like which has the video of showing like how like difficult it was to like play the games.
Oh yeah, let me just
Let's
let's see if
hope
it's
the
playing. Yes.
Yeah, so let's say like every game like you see in the Web3 earlier stage, this was the user play where every step that you're doing goes on the on-chain and it had to be basically give a confirmation screen. And this is not a good user experience, right? And to tackle this, like we came up with like something called embedded wallets, right? Like embedded wallets got popular because user didn't have to know that they own a wallet, which was like easier to onboard. But the other issue that it solved was that user does not need to like confirm on the screens. But as we like went forward with the embedded wallets, we came up with the issue of like creating more and more fragmentation in the ecosystem, right? Like you remember like you have like three websites where you have the embedded wallets. You transfer your funds from like MetaMask to those wallets, and now you don't know like how many funds you are managing or in which websites, right? So there is definitely a fragmentation layer that it introduces. It's similar to like what we talk about, like how chains basically fragment the user's balance. The embedded wallets also like kind of fragments the user's balance, right? And there are definitely like good use cases where like embedded wallets are really good use case. But now as we are going with the agentic thing, right? Like 804 came out, X42 came out, and like this, everyone is trying to build on the agents. The problem with the agents is either people are giving access to private to the agent, which they should not do because you don't know when they hallucinate, and basically, boom, like next thing you know, like your funds are gone because you have given access to the private key, and there are like some good projects like Zypher, right? They are using like embedded wallet, but they're not giving access to like private key to the agent. They are using like something called session keys, right? Which is similar to like what delegation is. So you are giving like specific permissions to the agent to like do things on the user's behalf. And with, again, coming to the point, it creates fragmentation, and that's what like ERC 7.1.5 solves. When you are trying to not have that segmented ecosystem, what you can do with ERC Sense and 1.5 is like, let's say if you want to give agent certain permissions, right? I'm going on my MetaMask wallet. I'm saying, hey agent, you can use like 20 USDC on my behalf to do like a swap on Linea, or let's say like do the yield management for me. And now agent is able to like take that 20 USDC from the user's balance without user having to confirm or even being there. Like it does not have to, user does not have to be there. It can happen in the background, and that's what ERC7.1.5 does with the MetaMask. So it's basically like auto, like giving certain permissions to a dApp or an agent which can execute transactions on behalf of user. So I think I yapped a lot about like ERC7.1.5 and like what it does. So feel free to ask like questions why we came up with that, or anything you want to know why we need it. So this is like a short introduction why we need Sense and 1.5 permissions. And how we are doing with like MetaMask is like we are using delegation framework and EIP 7.0.2 to do it. So delegation framework is like the core backbone of the Sense and 1.5 implementation that we did, because delegation framework allows you to like delegate certain actions from a users to like some other like session account, which can be like a smart account or a EOA wallet or a smart contract as well. So if we go to the other like slide, like we also have a diagram how the flow looks like for delegation framework.
Nice. Question
Yeah.
that you
So
should, before we're moving to the framework, like what I remember you did this workshop in Dev Connect. What were the kind of like the main questions that people were asking and kind of the main lesson learned about this discussion?
I think like we got a lot of like good feedback on like how it is trying to solve the issues. Since it's very new, like people are very excited to know about this, and like we did like brainstorming as well with like a lot of like folks, like what they can do. One of the thing was like, what if like revoke.cash basically introduce like permissions where you can give permission to revoke.cash to like do revocations on your behalf, right? And you don't need to worry then whether you are asleep or that you don't have access to your wallet. You don't need to worry anything about revocations. They will handle on your behalf. What if like you are able to give agents certain permissions that, let's say like they do yield management for you, so you don't have to like either have embedded wallet in between. So this
Mhm.
was the like use cases we discussed, and we got like really like interesting uses from people itself. We have one of the person who is building 804 SDK using the delegation framework. So like you, who is like if you are creating like 804 agents, you can basically delegate permissions to those agents instead of like giving access to private key. And yeah, so I think that were the main takeaways we got from like the forum that we did.
Nice.
Yeah, so coming back to the delegation framework.
Mhm.
So before like I like talk about delegation framework, so delegation framework has like four main components. It's one is delegator, so the person who is delegating the permissions. The one is delegate, the person like or the account that is receiving the permissions, right? So this can be an agent account, or it can be a smart account, or it can be a smart contract, right? It can be anything. And there is one delegation manager. Now delegation manager is basically responsible for like validating whether this signatures are correct or not, whether the delegations that delegated did are correct or not, whether the delegator is trying to redeem the permission is correct or not. So let's say I gave like permission of like using 20 USDC to Francesco, but Francesco is now saying that, hey, I want to use 30 USDC on Irish behalf. So delegation manager will also validate that whether this permission can be redeemed or not. And it will say, Francesco, you only have permission to use 20 USDC. You cannot use redeem like 30 USDC, right? And
Mhm. Makes sense.
caveat enforcer is basically the smart contracts that are the building block for the permission system. So let's say like when I say like I want to give 20 USDC permission to Francesco, right? So caveat enforcers are the smart contract that enforces that on the delegation, right? So we have a lot of like caveat enforcers where I can say I want to give native with permission. I want to give permission of USDC. I want to give permission to Francesco that Francesco can like perform certain smart contract operations on my behalf. It can be anything. So you can use that. So now we go to the flow of how it works is like, so basically delegator signs a delegation object. This is all like happening off chain. There is no on chain interaction involved over here. And once like the delegation has been created towards the delegate then can submit the operation to like delegation manager calling the redeem delegation function on the delegation manager. Now once the delegation manager gets that redeem delegation called, it basically validates whether signature is valid or not, whether Francesco is saying that I have given the permission, but is it valid or not, right? And it also like confirms whether it is valid or not. Once it is confirmed, it confirms that the permission that I have given are the valid permissions, and Francesco is trying to like execute things on my behalf which are valid or not. Like as a given example of Francesco cannot execute or do a transaction of 30 USDC
Mhm.
on my behalf if I have given 20 USDC. So that
Gotcha.
happens
How the proofs is being executed is some kind of like ZK, or there is just a verification on chain?
it's just a verification on chain on the smart
Mhm.
contract.
Mhm.
So like there are like four different hooks in the like Kevin enforcer: before all hook, before hook, after all hook, which are used for the validation depending on the use cases that you want to build, right? And once like before all hooks are like validated, we basically call execute from executor with the execution details. uh, so let's say like Francesco is now trying to redeem like 20 USDC, which is valid. So it will
Mhm.
call the execute from executor on delegator. So it will transfer like 10 USDC from my account to Francesco's account, right? But one more interesting thing, if you can say, is like there is also something called after hook and after all hook, which is good when you want to have like intent based permission. Like I want to say Francesco that Francesco, you can use 10 USDC on my behalf, but in return I want like 0.1 ETH. Now once like Francesco is doing a swap on my behalf, like where he is like using like 10 USDC, and after hook will come into place like to validate whether I'm getting 10, like 0.1 ETH back when Francesco is using that 10 USDC or not. And those all validation happens in like the after hooks of the Kevin enforcer. So in short, this is how the delegation framework works, and this is powered by MetaMask smart accounts. So yeah, so now we in the like in the delegation framework we have like smart accounts kit where you can either use like embedded smart accounts, or you can also use a 7702 powered smart accounts. And that's what we do in like MetaMask extension. We use 7702 powered smart accounts in the extension. If you have watched our previous live stream where we like did on the 7702, you would know like how we can like upgrade our EOAs to like 7702 smart accounts on MetaMask. If you are not, you can go to our YouTube and check it out. So
Nice.
yeah, so that's what we do. We use like delegation framework plus 702 smart accounts to like power the ERC7715 permissions. If anyone
Exciting,
has a
exciting.
question, feel free to drop.
Yes, yes, yes. Feel free always to ask the chat in the right hand side. What are the main use cases that you see being built right now around permissions?
I mean, we are seeing a lot of like AI use cases. Last time we did a hackathon, right? And we have a community call tomorrow itself, and
Mhm.
we'll be seeing like three projects coming out of that like hackathon, which are like using the delegation. So if you want to know also like what how they are using like the delegation framework and how they are using the smart accounts kit to power the AI agents, you can definitely join our call to learn more. uh, but yeah, AI use cases are there, and one of the feature of direct delegations are like you can redelegate those permissions, which is especially useful for 804 agents, right? The 804 is like A to A, right? And when we, let's say you have a agent orchestrator whose responsibility is to like interact with different agents. So I give permission to an agent. That agent can use like 30 USDC on my behalf.
Mhm.
And now there are like specialized agents for specific tasks. Like there is an agent for swap as well. There is an agent for bridge. There is an agent for yield generation, right? So now I have three different agents. So I have given an agent permission to use 10 USDC, and now I say like I want to like get best yield on the USDC. Now this agent will go to other agent and say, hey, Ayush wants like the best yield on USDC. He has given me $10 permission. I'm giving you to use this $5 permission to get the best yield to Ayush, right? So that you can see like it's basically creating a chain of like permission sharing, which is not possible in any other framework. So A2A use cases is really good. You can like
Mhm.
build really
Mhm.
like cool systems out of it.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see also the some of the winners that will present tomorrow in the community call. That will be exciting. Okay, sounds good. So what's next? Let me just.
So the other thing like it tries to before I go into like why we need sense in one file, there was also one of the use cases. Francesco, when you are doing any kind of transaction, there is always something called as hex data that you sign, right? The call data for the transaction. Do you know what you are signing when
Not
you see the
always.
hex? Yeah. So one of the like biggest hurdle in the Web3 is also the call data that users sign, and they don't know like what they are signing, and that's what happens when they sign a call data that is malicious. They basically give permissions to like certain dapps or like the smart contract to do certain things on their behalf, and they don't know this what these permissions are. And there is like this has always been a biggest struggle where users does not know what kind of permissions they are giving to and dApp. And that's what like 7715 also tries to solve. The the user will know what kind of permissions they are giving, and they will be in charge of sharing this permission. So let's say like on Uniswap, you go to the Uniswap and you are saying that I want to swap like 10 USDC to ETH, right? You get a transaction confirmation on MetaMask, but now you cannot like change that 10 USDC to 5 USDC, right? As a user, you need to basically go revert like cancel the transaction, go back to the Uniswap again, and then again like try to say like I want to, instead of doing like 10 USDC, I want to do 5 USDC and initiate the transaction again. But if you go to the next screen, if the next slide we have, we can like showcase like how it works. So here you will be able to see what kind of permissions you are giving. The users are in control of those permissions. Users can read what those permissions are. User can set the frequency like of the like permission. Like if giving a permission of using like 10 USDC or like X amount of USDC or X amount of like native ETH, I can define like what amount of those ETH can be used daily, weekly, hourly, or like yearly. I can define the start time. So let's say I want an agent or a dApp to use this permission only after 7 days. So I can define my start time. I can also set the expiry that, hey, the dApp can only use this permission for 1 year, or let's say for only for 3 days. And I can define that in the expiry. And user will be able to see that, user will be able to modify that. That's the best thing, right? So even if like dApp is requesting for like 10 USDC, user does not feel comfortable giving permission for 10 USDC, they can change it. They can change it on before confirming that I want does not want to give like 10 USDC. I want to give only for 5 USDC, and that's it. User knows what they are signing. User knows what the permissions they are giving to the dApp, and that's the best thing about like the advanced permissions.
Yeah, it's super important the permission that you're getting. I think like there is also a lot of use case around the revoking permission, how the permissions will also like last in time. So time frame permissions. There is a lot of interesting also follow up use case. I'm thinking also about recovery, not just sign transaction, right?
And you know like this like sets like MetaMask apart in terms of like all other wallets, because now MetaMask users will be able to see like what permissions they are giving to the dApp and be
Yes.
in the control of what permissions they want to give. So that's the best part.
This is super important. Where in the UI I'm able to see which permission I'm giving? Is in the
So
settings?
You can see in the settings like when I'll go through the like walkthrough. You
Mhm.
will be I can show like the permissions I have given, and I can also like revoke them.
Nice, nice. Yeah, the remote access is super important.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
so that's the UX flow that we have. And now that we know like what ERC Sense and 1.5 is, why it is important, how we do it in the MetaMask, let's see like if you're a dApp and if you want to use these permissions, how you can do that. And I forgot to mention ERC Sense and 1.5 also allows like you to build apps that are gasless for the users. So user does not need to pay anything since it's basically your signature. It's not a transaction. So the gas will be paid by the dApp, and they can give a very like seamless user experience to the user.
Nice. I think gasless transaction is super important. I think for the founder hearing us, providing this UI, providing this kind of experience for users is super important. Question. So how, like in a nutshell, I know that we presented this in the previous live streams. So how, let's say, builders, founders can actually consume those advanced permission? Is it through like an SDK? Because everything is open source, right?
Yes, so you can like check out the smart accounts kit. It's I can share the docs link.
Oh yes, that would be great. There is also a delegation explainer that we will share here, and here we have also the docs specific.
Yeah, so like if you want to like use ERC Sense 7 for permission, which is like advanced permissions, or if you want to use like MetaMask smart accounts, you can use like smart accounts kit SDK to use that. And we'll be basically using this to like interact with like the advanced permissions in MetaMask. Just a quick, uh, what would I say? Hmm. I don't know the exact term, but a quick kind of thing I want to say is like the advanced permissions is only supported in the Flask as of now. We are set to release this in the main extension production for like Q1 in the around like Jan end or like Feb, and we are looking for like the feedbacks. So if you have any feedback on like how you want the UX to be, and if you need any kind of specific permissions, we are more than happy to like have a design partnership with you and have those permissions. So feel free to reach out as well.
Nice.
Okay, let's dig into the code and let's get our hands dirty. I hope like the demo bots will be with us.
I'm optimistic. Optimistic. They need to be us. We did multiple live stream this week.
Yeah. So see. I hope this is big enough for everyone to see. I cannot see like how I look or what it is on the screen since I don't have like a multi-screen setup. But I have already like created a basic app. I have not written any code like which is related to advanced permission. So this is basically a basic app created using Create Next app CLI, and I have like already added like the packages that I need, which is like Smart Accounts Kit. I have added the WAGMI as well, and these are the only packages that I have installed. Uh, WAGMI, we are using WAGMI because we want to connect with the MetaMask and we want to like use the hooks properly, and that's why we are using the WAGMI. The smart accounts kit, we are using it to like interact with like MetaMask extension to use the advanced permissions and also like to redeem those permissions, right? And as you can see, apart from like creating the basic create next app, I have just created a provider which is the normal simple vacuum provider. You can go to the docs and like copy paste and you will get exactly the same thing. I am using the Sepolia chain. I am using connectors. I can define like I want to use like MetaMask connector only because 7715 permissions are only supported on the MetaMask. So that's one thing. If you can see here, I'm using the Infura RPC. You can use Infura or any other as well. And I have basically defined a button component. This is basically just for the UI purposes. I have wrapped my like the whole root project with the app provider we created because we want like the WATMI context to be available to all of the like components that we have. If we go to the page, we have done very minimal changes. I can show you on the page, I have just deleted like all of the basic things that we get in the create next step. And what I'm doing is like I'm checking if my account is connected or not. If the account is not connected, I'm just showing a button that you need to connect the MetaMask wallet, Flask wallet to get started. And I'm using the Wagmi hook here, like basically use connect and then connect function to connect. I'm connecting with the MetaMask. As I said, like it's only supporting the MetaMask. And if my account is connected, it will show a different component which is connected. And yeah, this is very basic. If the permissions are given to the dApp, it will show permission granted, and then you can click on the redeem permissions. If the permissions are not granted, we will basically grant permissions. These are nothing but just the dummy placeholders which will basically write. So the app is already running. If you can see, I can go here and I can click on the grant permissions, and it will basically just do grant permissions console log, right? So now we want to like do the permission granting, right? So what we need is the wallet client. So the first thing that we'll get is the wallet client. We will also, let's check the wallet client is not empty. If it is empty, we'll be not able to work, right? So let's say return, or you can also like console or throw error that no wallet client found or wallet not connected. Now since we have wallet client, what we need to do is we need to extend this wallet client to like ERC7715 provider actions which we have. And to do that, you can, let's say we create wallet client dot extend, and this is from the ERC sensor under provider action is from like the smart accounts kit, which will allow you to like extend the capabilities of like the wallet client. And if you go inside this, you can see you can basically request for like request execution permissions from the MetaMask extension. Now that we have this, what we can do is we can basically request permissions, right? And this will take few things, and I want to just show you how good our docs are. If you are like a builder, you can go to the smart accounts kit. Oopsie. Yeah. And you can go in the guides. You can click on the execute on the MetaMask user's behalf, and I'll just copy paste and it will work out of the blue. Because yeah, our docs are copy pastable. You can copy paste and it will work for you. We'll just change it to client request execution permission. We need chain ID. For that, we will use like again use chain ID hook from the WAGMI, and we'll change it from chain to chain ID. This is the signer. The signer here defines like to whom we are giving permission. So as I said, that this is the basically account that we are giving permission to. So this can be, you can say in the delegation framework terms, this is the delegate. We need a session account, right? So let's say this is to do, and we will create, let's say keep it dummy placeholder, and we are using the ERC28 token periodic permission. As I said, like we have like different permissions which we can use. For example, we have like either you can like request for native token permissions or ERC20 token permissions. For ERC20 token permissions, we have like ERC20 periodic permission. So let's say like if you want to give dApp a permission to loop use like 100 USDC per day, per hour, or weekly, you can use this permission. If you want to use like streaming permission, right? Let's say you want to say that dApp can use like 1 USDC every second or something like that, you can use the streaming permissions. If you want to use like the native token permission, you want to give dApp to use like ETH on your behalf, like 0.1 US like ETH like daily or something like that, you can use that. If you want to like give the streaming permission for the ETH, you can use like the this permission which is called native token stream, and this all like copy pastable, so you can just copy paste in your code base and it will work out of the blue for you. Uh, well, let's do one thing. Let's not use the ERC20 periodic permission because we don't have ERC20 tokens. Let's use the this one. So I'm doing this because I don't have like ERC20 USDC as of now in my account, which we can also get it from the circle. But let's, for simplicity, use this. We'll change the chain ID here. This is client. We don't need the token address now. This is, let's say for now it's 0 address. We will change it afterwards, and I can just import via VM. So now let's understand what all things we need to give. We need to give like the chain ID because we need to define on which chain we want to give permission. We want to set the expiry for the permission. So what I'm doing is like getting the current time, and then basically adding like 1 week in a seconds to that to get the expiry. I'm defining the signer, which is basically will be the delegate account over here. In yeah, this is the delegate account to whom I'm giving permission. As of now, it's 0 address, but we'll change it in a while. The permission will take like which type of permission you want to give. I'm using the native token periodic permission. You can be using like native token stream, ES20 periodic, or whatever permission is suited for you. I'm defining how much of each can be used by the dApp, which is like 0.001 ETH, and the period duration is like 1 hour. So now dApp can use like 0.01 ETH every hour on my behalf. And I have defined the start time as current time. But let's say like if you want to define the start time to be 7 days later, you can basically add like 7 days in a second to the current time and give this as a start time. And also giving justification like why I need this permission. This will be shown on the UI to the user, which is like permission to use like 0.01 ETH every day. And you can also see like there is a flag called is adjustment allowed. So when we talked about that user is able to like modify the permissions when the request is shown, right? This is possible because like we have set the flag to true. So there will be dApps who want to give like user explicit kind of capabilities to like modify those permissions on the go before like granting, so they can like keep true. If you don't want to allow, you can set it to false as well. Let's say we are keeping it to true to see like how it looks like. And once we like kind of get the permission, what we need to do is like we need to set the permissions, which is like granted permissions, right? And I think we need to change this. We need the request. Okay, now we are basically what we're doing is like we are extending the wallet client to use the ERC sensitive provider action. Doing that, you will be able to use the functionality of like ERC sensitive 1.5, which is to request execution permission. Here we are passing the necessary things to request the permission from the user. And once we get the permission, we are basically setting the state so that we can update the UI and like show the button to redeem the permissions, right? And let's try this one and see if it works. And if you can see, I'm not using the MetaMask production wallet. I'm using a MetaMask Flask. You can check our docs. We already have the links like how you can download the MetaMask Flask. You can also share it, or Francesco maybe you can also share.
Yes, I can share it.
Yeah. So you can like basically install MetaMask Flask to use this advanced permission. And since our wallet is already connected, it's just showing the grant permissions. Let's see like how it looks like. So voila, now we are able to request the grant permission for the user. And as you can see, like we are requesting for 0.001 ETH, and the frequency is daily, but here I can change it to hourly as well, weekly or bi-weekly, depending on our use case. Uh, I can define the start time as well. I can define the expiry as well. And as you can see, it is also showing like why this permission is required, which is like permission to use, like this can be any justification. And now basically we'll grant it. And once you like click on the grant, like once you have done the like modifications to the permissions and you click on the grant, this will show you a signature confirmation. As I said, like it's not a transaction that we are doing, it's basically like each sign type data signature that we are giving to the dApp. And once we confirm, the permissions have been granted, right? And you can see now we are showing the button redeem the permission. Now, since we have given the permission to zero address, we will be obviously not be able to redeem it because we don't have the, no one has access to zero address, right? So what we'll do is we'll create a smart account first for the dApp, and we'll give permission to that. So let's say we'll create new state variable, which is like smart account, and it says search smart account, or maybe you can call it as session account, which would be easy to understand. And this will hold the, this is so cute. Is it my humor or this is cute?
It is. It is. Let me put.
Yeah, so we have created a state variable to update, and now every time this like we are using use effect because we want to like have access of smart account like every time it is refreshing or it is created. And you should, right, and what we want to have access. Nope, we don't need the wallet client. So the first thing we need is, let's say we want to create two MetaMask smart account, right? We want to create a smart account using this function, and this is from the MetaMask smart accounts get. This take like client, which is a public client, so we need access to public client, so we'll get it again from the wagmi hooks. That's why I love wagmi hooks. You don't need to like write it or access. It's so easy to like get all the data in one place. Input from wagmi. And since like we are not sure if it's like empty or not, we can also check public client is not empty or return. You can do all the error handling by yourself. We also define like with like MetaMask smart accounts has like different type of implementations. We have the multi-sig implementation, we have the hybrid implementation, we also have the 7 sensitive implementation. Here we are using the hybrid implementation, which allows you to use EOA as well as the passkey to use as a signer. And I'm saying that I want to use implementation as hybrid, but you can use multisig or sensitive depending on your use case. uh, we also need a signer, right? And I have already like updated my .env with a private key, which will be owned by the dApp. So I'll basically access the private key from the .env here. But your, let's say like the signer for a smart account can be anything. It can be your TE as well, depending on your use cases. It is not necessary that it has to be your like embedded private key. It's up to you. Let's say it's session key. I hope I'm correct. Or, and we'll create an account, VM account, key2 account, and we'll pass the private key here. Okay, and now we are passing this account as a signer, right? So that's done. We also need to deploy, we need to define the deploy params. For that, we need like who will be the owner for the account. So account owner will be account.address. And this, the other params are basically used for the passkey. So if you're using a WebAuthn, like if this also has like WebAuthn, right? So if you're using like WebAuthn as a signer, you need to define the XY coordinate, X and Y coordinate for public key, and also the key ID for the passkey. So if you're using that, feel free to use this params as well. We also need to define the deploy salt, which let's say it's like we can define anything. And well, now we have the smart account. Let's say like once we have access to smart account, what we can do is say account and set the session account to be account, right? Now we have this, and we also need to make sure that every time like the public client is updated, we need to update the smart account as well. So we'll just edit here. uh, I think nothing else is, I think this is good. And now we want to give permission not to zero address but to our session account, right? Which is, now since like it can be null as well or undefined, we also need to, let's say, we add one more check that if session account is not defined, we can console no session account found, and then we can return from here. You can throw the appropriate error and handle it in your like lab, and this is done. Now session account is also defined. Now since like user is giving permission to the session account, we can use the session account to redeem those permissions. Let's try to give permission and see if this works. Let's refresh. Yeah, so now you can see we are giving permission to session account. Grant permission. Voila. Now we just need to write the redeem permissions logic, right? Now let's say here we'll be doing a very simple thing, that will be that the smart account or the session account that we have created will be able to like transfer ETH on the user's behalf, like the MetaMask user's behalf, without uh, the MetaMask user having to being the confirm the transaction or like do anything. So for that, since you're using a smart account, we first need the bundler client. I'm using a bundler client from the bundler URL from the Infura. So which I've already like set in my .env. We will be using the VM for here. I think this should be the right bundler URL. No, it would be the Infura URL. Okay, we have the bundler client, and we also want to use the paymaster because let's say since we have an embedded private key and embedded smart account for the tab, it's better to use a like a paymaster, so that there is not a case where like the smart account does not have enough funds to like execute transaction on the user's behalf, right? So we are using a paymaster here as well. So we'll create a paymaster. I'm using for paymaster, I'm using Pimlico. Feel free to use like whatever you prefer. It's not Infura URL. I think it's paymaster URL should be fine. And we'll just pass it the paymaster to the bundler client. Now we have the bundler client. Now since we want to redeem these delegations, right, there is no like, we have created action for the bundler client similar to action we have created for wallet client. We have an action for bundler client which you can use to easily like do transactions on the behalf of MetaMask user, which is called like, if we extend, it's called ERC sense and 10 bundler actions, which will give you the functionality to like execute delegations. Now if we check bundler client dot, usually you have, what is happening, man? Usually we have send user operation, right? This is why it is. usually we have like send user operation, which is directly from the VM bundler client, but we also extended using the send 710 bundle actions. So we now also have like send user operation with a delegation, right? As I said, like the 7715 permissions are powered by the delegation framework. So it basically creates a delegation towards the session account. Now, this is very similar to like how you send the like send user operation. So I'll like, let's just say account is the session account over here, and let's make sure session account is there while we are doing it. We can do calls instead of like the normal call which we have like usually two data and value. We will also have like something called permission context in the delegation manager, since we want to like redeem a delegation. So let's say like we want to, the DAP will be able to send 0.0001 ETH to zero address or whatever. So here I'm like kind of sending it to zero address, but you can like do anything you want as a DAP. It's for the simplicity we are doing this. And let's say pass. So we need the permission context as well. Again, for this, you can go to the docs. You can go to our guides, which will have the redeem advanced permission step, and you can basically copy paste this. Also, one thing, as I mentioned, the session account can be an EOA as well. So if you want to use an EOA, you can like copy this piece of code, where we again have like action which is called send transaction with delegation. And if you want to use like a smart account for the session account, you can like copy paste this. Let's say, let's copy paste this part as well, so we can go through all the details. Let's say this will be the permissions that we have granted. Feel free to see.
Is it working? Looks like.
I'm just doing a thing that you should not do. You can basically make sure that the context is available, the delegation manager is available from the permissions before doing this. And what else do we need? Oh, we need a public client as well. Let's get public client. Make sure public client is also not null at this point. What's happening? This context is correct, right? Yeah. Okay. So what we are doing over here is like we are using the bundler client to send the user operation with delegation. Now, to get the permission context and delegation manager, we are using the permissions that we got. So in here, in the permission, if you go and check what all things we get in the permission response, you will get a context. This is basically the encoded delegation. In the signer meta, you also get the delegation manager. Since I said like the delegation manager is responsible to like validate all the delegations, all the signature and everything, what we are doing is like we are sending the user operation, and we are defining the delegation manager. Well, the basically the user operation will be like targeted towards the delegation manager, and it will be able to like validate all the signatures and everything. What we're doing is in the scope of permission or not. And this is the permission kind, as I said, like it's basically encoded delegation. And we are defining that in this, there should be a transaction happening from the MetaMask user's account to zero address, and it should be a transfer of 0.00001 ETH, right? And we will get like the user operation hash from here. Say await. Now, what we can do is can console this, but we will need to also wait for the operation. I think this should be the fine. So we are passing user operation hash, and then we will get basically the receipt. So since when using like 433 smart accounts, there is a separate mempool for the like bundler client, right? So when bundler client submits the transaction on chain, you will need to wait to get the user operation receipt, which will have the actual transaction hash. So in the receipt we can get transaction. You see receipt dot transaction hash. So which we need, right, to check whether the transaction was successful or not. Okay, I think let's give it a run, see if it works or not. Permissions granted, try to redeem. We don't have anything to UI. Okay, something is happening. We can check the network logs. Okay, we have the user operation hash. Now we need to wait for the transaction receipt as well. Okay, here have the user operation receipt. We can go to Sapolia scan, can hit enter over here. Let's wait it to be processed.
Drum run.
Voila, it's success. So now what we can check is we can check the logs. We can also check the state to see what happened. So if you go to the logs, you might be seeing that there will be something called as redeem delegation. As I said, like internally it uses a delegation, right? So basically delegation manager able to like successfully redeem delegation after all the validations. And we can now also check the state, whether what happened to the user's value. If you see, this is the account that are connected, which is this one, 0x9. I didn't do any confirmation on MetaMask or didn't do any send on MetaMask, but my value has been decreased by 0.001 because this went to null address or zero address that we call. You can see the state difference over here. And if you go over here, you can check. Can check the events. Yeah, you can see we didn't do any operation here. So yeah, I think that's how the advanced permissions work. This is not a good UI. So what you can do is you can go to something like this, which we have the examples. Uh, this is like the better UI. So if you, the whole purpose of the workshop was not to have like good UI or anything, but to explain like what advanced permissions are, how you can use this. You can make whatever UI you want. And if you want this kind of template, the best thing is like to use our CLI. I'm not sure if this will be visible, but let's say, and also please avoid all the things on my desktop. But let's say, wanna This is the command. So you can use npx metamask create gator app. So we have a CLI to get you started very easily. You can define the project. Let's say I want to see advanced permission workshop demo. I can pick Next.js. We have a Next.js template for the advanced permission. You can like choose any one of this. For the hackathon, the important one is the advanced permission starter. Click on that. Click on the package manager you want to choose. It can be npn yarn pnpn. We'll go with the npn. Do you think this will work? Hopefully, it should work.
Hopefully. I
I think
mean,
that
we have internet.
I think internet is fine, but I'm just afraid like we need to release a new version for the CLI, which has the fix for the Next.js vulnerabilities that were like released, which were announced like last week.
That's why you think he's not, but he's able to install the packages or no?
Yeah, it's like working. It's
It's
installing dependency.
becoming
Let's see.
it's dependencies. Can people spin the CLI from like Claude um, or any other kind of like editor, like Cursor and stuff?
So sorry, I didn't get the.
No, can people also spin up the CLI from like
Yes, yes.
Claude or any other editor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can use in any of the IDE as well, like just using the terminal. Okay, it worked. Now what we can do is like we can go to advanced workshop demo and we'll open it in the cursor. And if you can see, it has like everything configured for you. It has like all the components, all the like provider configured for you, all the services. It has the app provider, the permission provider. So you can like, if you don't want to store in the state, you can like basically update this provider to store the permission in like in any DB you want, or like IPFS wherever you want to store. If you want, you can use a session account context as well to have, instead of like having the private key, local private key, you can also like have TE as a signer, whatever you prefer. And you can also see like in .env you can like update the .env file. Once you have updated the .env file, you just need to do npm run dev, and that's it. It will work for you.
Nice. Quite straightforward. So in the CLI there was an update last week you mentioned, huh?
Yeah, we need to release a new version for the CLI, but this will work for you. It's not like it will not work. But the only thing that is like if you see here, the next version is like 15.3.4, which was in the vulnerability. So ideally you should use like 15.4.0 or the versions which are not impacted by the vulnerability. That's it, nothing else.
Nice. So it didn't impact it, the CLI. We're good. We're good to go. Okay, sounds good. I mean, super appreciate the workshop. Are you any other things that on the docs that you feel that people should check? Like,
Let me.
yeah, I remember you were pushing some tutorials and guides, right?
Yeah, like we have pushed like a lot of like guides on like how you can use the different signers for the smart accounts. If you want to like use WAGMI connector, if you want to like use passkeys, if you want to use like MetaMask embedded wallet, dynamic privy, you can basically follow those guides. We have the permission guides as well, which are new. And also we talked about like redelegation, right? Like how you can give, I can give permission to Francisco, then Francisco give permission to Shabazz to use on my behalf, right? So how you can do that, you there's also a guide on that. So
Nice. Quite straightforward. Sounds good. I think we're good to go. We're 7 minutes late. One thing that we probably want to share is also the link. So this is the Advanced Permission Dev Cook-Off that we mentioned. We launched, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. There is another 2 weeks to go. Yeah, we see already a bunch of submission. But if you have any questions, we have both the MetaMask developer chat in Telegram. And I really appreciate here that Ayush and the team also at NVO like put a bunch of like idea banks inside the HackQuest page. Yeah, anything else to add for people for reference, Ayush?
I mean, like, if you have any like issues, feel free to reach out to us on the Telegram group. If you go to the page that is shown on the QR code, you will be able to see the link for the Telegram once you register. So you can like reach out to us there. We are active, and if you need any like specific permissions, use cases, we are more than happy to help you out.
Nice, nice. Sounds good. Yeah, excited for this session, especially because like MetaMask Dev Hook will finish up at the end of the year, so you have also like some holiday time to hack. And I think yeah, for the people listening, I remember last year like people were hacking quite strongly during the couple of weeks holiday time, and I think yeah, it's also a good time to learn new tech and test out things, especially if you're a founder and you want to build like resilient apps. Awesome, awesome. I think we're good. Thank you so much, Ayush. Super useful. What anything any other workshop coming? No, I think we're good. And and yeah, I think we will resume by the end of the year. So good luck everyone for hacking. Also make sure you ask questions if there is any kind of like debugging area. And yeah, looking forward to see all your submissions.
Go hacking.
Go hacking. G hack. G